Good afternoon, live from the Circus Sports at the Main Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. We had a blockbuster trade this morning in the NFL as the Miami Dolphins sent star wide receiver Jalen Waddle and their fourth-round pick to the Denver Broncos in return for the 30th pick plus a third and fourth-round pick in this year's draft. Waddle has been in Miami since his rookie year in 2021, and the Dolphins will now have 11 total picks in this year's draft. Waddle has totaled 5,000 yards and 28 touchdowns in his 5-year career so far. The Eagles also made a move by signing former Chiefs receiver Hollywood Brown to a 1-year deal worth up to $6.5 million, and the Houston Texans have signed former Browns guard and multiple-time Pro Bowler Wyatt Teller, as reported by Mike Garafolo. March Madness begins tonight with two first four games. UMBC and Howard tip off at 5:40. The winner will face 1-seed Michigan on Thursday, and then Texas and NC State tip off afterwards at 8:15 as the winner will face 6-seed BYU led by star freshman AJ DeBonsa. Both games are on True TV. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2, Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Tennessee Titans just made a signing. They signed Julius Chestnut, re-signed him, I guess, back to the team. And you know, listen.
Free agent? I missed that.
Yeah, he was a free agent. And listen, I know people are going to be like, well, you know, this means you can't draft Jeremiah Love and blah, blah, blah. Guys, I don't think Julius Chestnut's affecting draft plans. You know, no offense to Julius Chestnut, but I'm sure, like, most of these guys that they've signed, even Malik Herring and Bryce Oliver and stuff like that, they are on non-fully guaranteed vet minimum contracts, which means they could be cut at any time in the offseason if the Titans so choose to do that. So we don't need to be overplaying what the Julius Chestnut, you know, signing means. All it really means is that, hey, they got a free agent signed that was on the cheap that they're familiar with, and, you know, maybe he plays special teams and maybe he doesn't even make the team. That's just kind of how it is right now.
So I'm just trying to get this correct.
Yeah.
Somebody said that since we signed Chestnut that we may not take Love.
F&M Bank Chat, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Adam Weber, 1545 says, Titans re-signed Julius Chestnut. Titans have 4 running backs under contract now. That's a full running back room. Jets, Cardinals, and Titans have all made moves, suggesting they will not pick Love while the Giants are. There you go. I mean, right? I just happened to see the first message in the chat is that. Yeah.
Let's say this. It could be a possibility, but are any of those guys better than Love? I mean,
Right.
like, so, you know, I'm not saying they're going to take Love, and actually that's you, but, you know, style.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, you're trying to upgrade a roster and you can't afford to take the best player available. And if he's there, it'll be real interesting. I think what way they go. Man, he's a super talented. I even went and watched Washington Jr. a little bit more. He is not on the level of special, but he is a really, really good running back. I would say he's probably number 2 coming out of this year's draft. And I think you couldn't go wrong. Because I was thinking about, like, moving back, and then could you still get a running back that's still equal moving down the road, even if you wanted to keep Pollard, how much of a duo that could be if you got some more picks in the first round. Yeah. You know, they're trying to accumulate picks. So you use that, you know, that Love, and all the people want Love. There's some teams out there that really do outside of the Titans. So,
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's going to keep them from, but I'm not to say they are or
Right.
not. But just because the numbers tell you, doesn't always say that. Now, watch this, though. But you said the same thing about the Arizona Cardinals. You said they got 4 running backs, and that means they won't be taking Love.
I would
Did
say
you not say that?
I did, but they went and spent on running backs. That's a little bit different than going and signing like $1 million for Julius Chestnut.
Oh, man, they have 4 running backs. I mean,
That is,
they
that's actually 5 running backs.
5 running backs. So their 5 equals 1 over Love.
That is true. I just also think, you know, Elijah Wilkinson, their right tackle, could probably use a little bit of an upgrade in that department. Speaking of trades and speaking of trade backs, and opportunities to trade backs, add another team to the list of teams with 2 first-round picks in this draft. And that would be the Miami Dolphins, who traded away Jalen Waddle to the Denver Broncos and now have the 11th and the 30th. But not only that, the Miami Dolphins have the 11th overall pick, the 30th overall pick, both in the first round, the 43rd overall pick in the second round. They have 4 third-round picks, 75, 87, 90, and 94. So that is 6 top 100 picks belong to the Miami Dolphins. Now, I don't necessarily agree with trading away Jalen Waddle when your wide receiver room looks like Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, Terrace Marshall Jr., Malik Washington, Taj Washington, Theo Wees Jr., and A.J. Henning. But they are doing kind of a speed run at a rebuild right now. And, I mean, that's a lot of picks to make up a lot of ground. Team maybe that would possibly want to trade up for Carnell Tate. Or a team that may actually just decide to stick and pick and take Jordan Tyson. But this is a team that you can add to the list. Now, they're not a quarterback needy team like some of the other ones, but they have 2 first-round picks, and they have a lot of flexibility in the second and third to trade up and not have to give much away and still be able to rebuild. It's just something to watch, because if the Titans went to 11 and 30, and they would get both of those picks and just come out in the good plus 70 points to the trade chart. If they were to get both those picks, that's still a good thing for the Tennessee Titans, even though that my heart would break that they would not get Jeremiah Love. But getting 2 more top 30 or top 30 players, but 2 more, and then have 3 top 36 players is a pretty good haul.
Pretty bad as you know what.
Yeah.
And in whatever direction they want to go, whether it's defensive end, pass, receiver, running back. I mean, man, I think they could go in all kind of directions. Linebacker. I mean, they're out there in the realms of, those players at linebacker not taking them, at 4. So it will be an interesting decision. Maybe that's what they're trying to do because the Dolphins, because I know you mentioned through a text that, now they're getting rid of all their weapons. Well, their weapons are their draft picks. And if they move up, then that take weapons away. But they can still get an elite. Just imagine Tate there. Oh, by the way, isn't it the guy that everybody wants the Titans to sign called Jennings? Oh, Tate and Jennings. That sounds pretty good to me. At wide receiver, right? With the crew they have. And oh, by the way, let's not underrate Taylor Tolbert. That's the guy that was from South Alabama. That was
I love me some Jalen Tolbert coming out.
When they played him at Tennessee. Yeah, that dude
I loved
was legit.
him some coming out. And I don't know what all went. I didn't follow his career in Dallas.
Yeah.
But I always thought that dude has the size, the speed, everything you're looking for.
Yeah, I met that guy, and I know, he's legit. He put up 100 against UT, and he's all they had for South Alabama. I think it was South Alabama, So, I think he's underrated, undervalued. He's kind of going to be a possession guy, but, he's going to be a quality player. So you never know what you're going to get from Terrace Marshall. He went to LSU. All the LSU receivers end up being somewhat decent players in the National Football League, so you just don't know. And Tutu Atwell, we all know he's a burner. At 8.
Well, and you're picking at 43 too, right? As well. So you could go Carnell Tate at 4 or at Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate at 11. And even at 30 or 43, depending on what you got, can double up on wide receiver with one of those picks. If you don't trade up, you can go Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana that everybody's really high on at 30. And then you got yards after catch. You got Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate at 11. I mean, it's a really quick rebuild that they can actually do. Because I know they kind of got hammered a little bit for this trade. Because, and listen, your first instinct is, well, you just signed all that money or paid all that money to Malik Willis, and then you took away by far the best pass catcher that he has on the list. But also, I'm kind of thinking of it from a degree of this team needed to really reset after Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill already have moved on. They really needed a reset, and I think that they're going to go with Devon Achane, who's due for up for an extension. I kind of look at it and say, you can actually kind of do something where it's very Packers-like, where Jeff Hafley came from, in terms of the wide receiver room, where you may not have a true one, but you have a bunch of guys that you drafted, and they can all contribute. You can spread the ball out and stay dedicated to the run game. So I don't really kill the Dolphins over this trade.
Yeah. And by the way, what is considered a lot of money
Well,
for a quarterback?
Well, I mean, I guess that
$22 million is not a lot.
I guess that's true. Not anymore.
I don't know. For the quarterbacks in the National Football League, I know that's a lot of money. $22 million.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
You're right.
But you 22 million. I thought he was going to get more. That's why I say that.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to get 30. I thought it was going to be in that range or somewhere closer to that.
Right.
22 on the you closer to 20. We got wide receivers making 35.
That is true.
I mean,
I guess that is 22 really isn't that much anymore in the big scheme of things.
I mean, it's a lot of money. Don't get me right, but I was like, what? He's still. Where is he ranked? Probably you would, if you're making a guess in quarterback salary. Let's say if
18,
it's 22.
I bet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's where I would think.
Okay.
Maybe that's actually a little low. So 22.5 AAV. So if you were to go and look at that, that would be 17. That's pretty close.
Oh, dang, you were right
That
on.
was pretty close.
I was thinking he was probably in the early 20s, but every quarterback's not making a boatload of money, right?
Yeah. It feels like it, but I mean, but to be honest, 22.5 for a guy like, and I guess maybe there's a little bit of what Malik Willis has been over his career. I mean, this is a lot. It's almost like I think he performed better when he got his shot after he left Tennessee than Justin Fields did. And he's getting paid similar to Justin Fields. So I guess it's really not a lot of money.
Got you, because Fields got 20, right?
Yeah, he got 20 mil per year.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's really not a lot of money, but it just feels like a lot of money. But really compared to everything else, really not.
Nah.
And so, to your point, they could sign Jauan Jennings, and we'll talk a little bit more about Jauan Jennings later. They could draft a guy. I mean, like if you sign Jauan Jennings and draft it up for Carnell Tate, that's a flip right there. That you're better than where you were yesterday.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say not Tate. I'm going to say Tyson.
Yeah.
Because Tate is kind of more Jennings, if I want to get him closer. Tyson's more a Waddle-esque, just a little bit bigger as far as height-wise. So now you get two different dynamics. I just like my receivers all to be different, but it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Yeah. But, I mean, to your point, I mean, you could really flip it around fairly easily for this team currently. And if you have that opportunity to do it, do it. Take it. I'm all for doing a rebuild right. I think the Tennessee Titans under Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon, they kind of had conflicting views between where their roster was at and what they were trying to achieve. And then I think even the first year, Brian Callahan, there was a bit of a struggle with that too. They went and spent money on Calvin Ridley, traded for L'Jarius Sneed, and you kind of saw Mike Bergonzi try to get it back on track last year. The only difference is that he didn't have a lot of tradable assets like the Miami Dolphins. His best asset was Big Jeff. And I mean, to be honest, you'd have to pay a lot more for Big Jeff than you did for Jalen Waddle. And when you don't have those assets to trade, it's hard for you to get these picks like this. But I would imagine that Mike Bergonzi, looking at year one of John Eric Sullivan, is a little jealous of the draft haul he's got ahead of him for this year because you can turn things around fairly quickly for the Miami Dolphins because they still have competitive pieces on the roster already, too.
What percentage, you've had to guess, has the Titans going to change this roster?
Oh, man.
This may be the highest one yet.
It may be, to be honest with you, because I think we were looking at it at some point last year. I thought that we would have 52. We were projected to maybe have 52% of the roster was going to be free agents, and they cut two more players on top of that. So I would assume it's going to be, once you factor in the draft class, it's going to be another quick turnaround of pieces that maybe what is different, though, is that the pieces you're acquiring are going to be the first time in this system or have been in these systems before. So a little bit better or quicker acclimation process.
Yeah. And they should be up to speed pretty quickly, and the other players helping the other players get up to speed too. That, people don't talk about, players helping other players, and that then speeds up the process of understanding the system and the scheme and what's expected and where to be.
Yep. Yeah. All right, coming up next, let's go to your phone. 615-737-1045 is the number. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Stores, 615-737-1045. Let's go straight to the phones. Let's go to Jay in Murfreesboro. Jay, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Blaine and Zach, it's J Mac Baby.
J Mac Baby, what's going on, man?
What y'all know about? Y'all don't know about J Mac Baby, do you?
No, who's J Mac Baby?
Well, he's a legend up here in Murfreesboro. Just so you know.
He is. Man, come.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I blame Ross. He didn't tell us.
No, but straight to the point, guys. I think. Have y'all ever noticed so much hate on one player? Is it just me, or have y'all noticed so much hate on Will Levis?
Oh, well, that's been going on for the whole time, even when he was playing and playing well. So, yeah.
I'm saying. Well, it got a lot worse, but you think it might have something to do with maybe he's a little bit of a threat to Cam?
No, J Mac Baby. I kind of think that the hate from Will Levis really does stem from University of Tennessee volunteer crossover to the Tennessee Titans. But then I think it got exponentially louder when he played really poorly when he in that first year under Brian Callahan. And there's some people that are holding when he decided to take surgery or get the surgery on his shoulder against him as well. That's to each their own on that. But I don't think that it has anything to do with being a threat to Cam Ward, because I think most people that dislike Will Levis, or the Will Levis, the quarterback, I should say, don't view him as a threat whatsoever to Cam Ward at all.
I have no idea. I'm not in the locker rooms, but
yeah, I don't know anything about the locker room people.
Yeah, but I would say this: watching practice, he's a better talent. See, that's going to sound weird to people.
Yeah.
He is a better athlete. He's had a bigger and better arm. Period. Those are factual. So we can just throw that out the window. Doesn't mean he's a better player. This goes on in the National Football League. So to the caller's point, like when you used to see them running and throw, and after they make their throws and they run to the next thing, and Levis was always first and just, always hustling, maybe there's something to that. And maybe that's why, some people think that. I don't think Cam thought it was that way. I thought he was a confident guy, and I'm the number one pick, and I'm going to be the guy that's playing from right off the bat. I don't think that ever crossed his mind. And you can see that at camp, and he was pretty much running the ones pretty much the majority of the time. So, but his talent could always be a threat if he got in the game.
Yeah.
On a short window. We all saw what he did over a course of some games. He can give you some highlights. He can give you some lowlights. So I'd be interested to see him get an actual fresh start somewhere and maybe go be a backup and then get in. And I think he can show you in a short window maybe what he's done. I don't know if anybody's watched the videos of him this offseason throwing a freaking football. Hey, man, throwing it just without thinking, just throwing the football, I'd put him up against anybody in the National Football League outside of Stafford. Like
in terms of that arm strength
it was like it was a slingshot.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable watching it. I had to watch it like 50 times. It was just like, dang, I think his arm is better now.
Maybe they put something in it.
Maybe they did.
Of course, he's had that injury before, so maybe he finally got it fixed.
So it just, quarterback is all mental. So if he could just kind of get past that, and I'm going to compare him to like Dart. And not that they're the same players, but their mindsets are somewhat similar. And until they get that out of their system, that they're going to be the best athlete on the field instead of the smartest athlete, that will destroy you on the NFL. Because you think you're a running back and you will get hit like you're a running back and you will get injured. So beat them with your brains and sometimes use your feet. See? Because they are good athletes. So I just think, once he gets over that, if he gets a chance to prove that, I think he could be a successful quarterback in the league. Maybe, not on the elite level, but he could be a good starting average quarterback in the National Football League. I think it was mindset.
Yeah.
I think for Levis's case, too, just as an individual player, regardless of if he stays with Tennessee or not, I think him taking this last year off and getting that surgery was maybe the best thing for him. Honestly, just with the stuff that he's been kind of dealing with in his mindset and everything. We heard him talk about stuff during the first season with Callahan. So, yes, I am intrigued to see if he lands somewhere else, how he plays, but also just coming back from this time off, is he kind of refreshed, renewed as a person as well?
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, a little mental refresh can do the body just as good as anything. And I do agree with you in the sense of, Blaine, that the talent, the physical talent, has always been there for Will Levis. It's like what happens after he throws the ball that is worrisome.
Right.
You know, like
or slide, try to run somebody over. Hey man, come on.
Like, I mean, and I do agree with the point that you're making. Not many quarterbacks really come through the NFL built like Will Levis physically, gifted like Will Levis athletically, and also have a quick rocket launcher.
Oh, man.
Because to your point, he does have a quick release. The problem is everything else that goes into the playing quarterback, and that's why you can have all the talent in the world, and for one reason or the other, you don't make it to that next step. You can have, and listen, Will Levis has pretty good work ethic. I'm not going to diminish that either. He could be the next kind of Malik Willis, that guy who maybe goes and is traded, goes and fills in for a couple of games, and everybody's like, okay, well, maybe I'll pay him $22 million, which would probably at that time that happens, 20th in the league. 21st in the league.
See, that's why I say it's all mental. Yeah. Why do you think, somewhat similar, I would say Levis has a better arm. I don't know if Malik Willis may be a little bit better athlete, but why did he adapt to how to run and always look to throw first? Yeah. Being that he was a runner, even more so when he came out of college than Levis, but he had a quarterback's mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out why didn't Levis elevate and change and adapt the same way Malik Willis did?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit of stubbornness, and maybe, I guess we did see 2 years of Will Levis, and we saw 2 years of Malik Willis here. And we didn't get to see the third year, right? Where we did see the third year with Malik Willis, just for a little bit at the preseason. So to your point, maybe to Ross's point, the self-reflection period of being on the shelf for this whole time, maybe he does learn that. I don't know. I know that habits are really hard to break for some players, right? And let me say something. Will Levis has some really bad habits that he had a real hard time in the second year trying to break.
He did.
And so I can't say that he exactly will, but, sometimes there's a little bit of stubbornness to this, or this is the way I've always been able to get away with this, so why can't I get away with this here? I think there's a little bit of that to Cam Ward's game, right? I've always been able to get away with this in college, no matter where I'm at in competition level in college. I've always been able to get away with it. Why am I struggling to get away with it here? And that's really the next step we need to see from Cam Ward is, can you adjust to what you can't get away with in the NFL? Can you start reining that in a little bit?
Well, I think he did once, mostly, we were the better half of the second half of the season. I thought he did because he would pick his spots to run. He understood that, hey, he's not going to be running away for a lot of people, but he's going to be running. Then he would slide. So he already had the quarterback mindset. And he had the running game to help him. So I thought gradually he got there and he looked like a better player all around. All I want him to do is be a hero when it's needed, not always.
Right.
See, that's the mindset in college because you're the best player and but in the pros, you're going to be the best guy with the best mental capacity to beat the defense mentally.
And to be honest,
that's how you beat them.
You may not remember, but one of the first times over the summer during our first year, I talked about the aspect of being an older quarterback and being able to learn new things. And it's a real thing. I was trying to find it, but I can't find the article.
In regard to Cam Ward?
No, in regards to Will Levis. Going back to your earlier point about Will Levis and not learning how Malik Willis learned. Malik Willis was a little bit younger. Will Levis was a little bit older. So sometimes teaching an old dog new tricks is kind of a thing. But that's going to be a new thing in the NFL because they're all going to be a little bit older heading into the NFL for the most part.
But I like to see Levis do well. So I'm interested to see what happens with him here and where he may potentially go, and then when will he get his shot to see if he is different. 'Cause I want to see it because this is like most coaches and scouts and GMs, when they see the guy running fast forward, all of a sudden now they got, let's go back and look at him. He was good, but he wasn't good. That's the same thing when you see with Will Levis. When you see him throw, you go, oh my gosh, he should be really good.
If he find the right staff that can develop him, and then will actually develop him, right? Because right now, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky got a 2-year contract. He's obviously number 2. How much time is this staff? Let's say Will Levis is on the staff for the entire offseason up until maybe some point in preseason where he's traded. How much time are they really spending developing Will Levis? Because, I mean, it's Mitchell Trubisky and it's Cam Ward. So if he can find a place where they have the ability to also develop him, and I think that's kind of where it ended up with Malik Willis up at Green Bay. Listen, Malik Willis took a step here under Brian Callahan, no doubt. Mm-hmm. But I think also once you're a quarterback too and you get a little bit more action, a little bit more love in the room, I think you get a little bit more time and a little bit more development, a little bit more focus on you.
I'm going to say this. I watched Malik Willis work out in the offseason, and I went and watched him. He developed himself mostly. I'm not going to take nothing away from Callahan. I mean, I would say he's 80, they 20. Yeah. And so he continued to grind and be a pocket passer, and he let his athleticism take over from there.
Yeah.
So that's what you're interested to see with Levis. Now, here's the big question, guys. How much do you play Will Levis in the preseason? You know what you have in Mitch Trubisky. So how much do you play him? And you need to continually develop your quarterback in a new system. Because if it was me, I probably wouldn't be playing Mitch Trubisky very much. I know he knows my system. Yeah. I'm trying to get value to trade Will Levis, and I'm also trying to make sure,
Cam Ward gets his.
Yes, right. So you're starting with Cam Ward, but then after that, I'm playing him a half every game. I promise you that.
I would kind of agree with you. I think Levis is going to take the majority of the preseason snaps. Now, there may be a fourth quarterback that comes into this equation at some point. I know that they met at the combine formally with Baron Morton, the quarterback out of Texas Tech. I don't think that has anything to do with them drafting a quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe an undrafted free agent quarterback comes in and maybe it goes Cam Ward a few drives, Will Levis plays 2 quarters, and then this guy plays the very last quarter. I don't know. I'm just saying that I could see that, but I would say that when it all said and done, Will Levis is getting the majority of the preseason snaps, and that's how they should be viewing it.
And then people can't all of a sudden say, Will Levis is our starting quarterback.
Yeah. There you go.
Stop that, Ross. You got something to say?
Well, things are different now, too, because you've got all these joint practices. So Cam, really the majority of his reps will be against whichever team in practice. And then you get a few drives, maybe, depending on how the games go. But Levis should 100%, like Zach's saying, be taking the most snaps, like you're saying, Blaine, in the preseason. We need value.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. Let's go to Mark and Smyrna. Mark, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, appreciate the call. I've called in a couple of weeks ago. I think that the last two, the quarterback we got now and Will Levis, I've told this, they're running for their lives. I believe Will Levis is better than what people think he is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we need to keep him. I know we're not going to. I just don't believe Cam Ward, if he doesn't get any protection, there's just not going to be anything to change from the last, 4 or 5 years. Also, I'd like y'all's opinion on taking a new coach that has failed as a head coach before. What do y'all think about not taking a coach that hasn't failed as a head coach in the NFL? And thank you for the call.
All right. Thanks, Mark. So let me see if I understand what he's saying about the protection. Protection, obviously, huge for any quarterback, not just Cam Ward, but any quarterback across the league. You see it all the time. So
and
totally
the running game, too. Once they got that going, it seems like the protection, I thought, was fine for me, at least, where they were at that point in time.
Yeah.
The season was deeply into the season.
Well, that offensive line got better. Yeah. It may be coincidentally after Bill Callahan got left, but there is no doubt.
Is that true? That's exactly what happened?
I mean, it may just be a coincidence.
Not exactly what happened.
It may be just a coincidence, but I think when you got J.C. Latham back and the further he got from injury.
No, it was Custom Locker,
yeah.
Right? No, what's the tight ends coach who started?
Oh, Luke Stocker. Designed the run. He was the run game. Yeah. He wasn't the run game coordinator, but he was the run game coordinator.
He was part,
Yeah. But like,
Luke Stocker.
I think once things kind of cleared up from a coaching perspective, an identity was given as like, hey, we are going to start running the football, which running the football, that helps get your offensive linemen in a rhythm. And when you do it early and often, that helps you get into a rhythm, get your offensive linemen comfortable in the game and all that kind of stuff. But I think once J.C. Latham got further from his injuries and Dan Moore started playing average left tackle play, and Lloyd Cushenberry got a little bit further. I know he got injured towards the end, but he got further from his injuries, and Zeitler kind of got into a groove. His body started getting there. He started looking a little quicker. You saw the offensive line get better. The offensive line today, on paper, is not better than what it was last year. So there's a huge concern, and we have talked about that concern a lot. Now, to go to a second question, and I believe I'm going to answer this correctly. I kind of got lost. I don't know which way he was kind of asking it, but there is a huge risk with getting a previous head coach that failed. And now only 18% of those coaches got better over the last, I believe, 20 years is when I had my information at the time.
Well, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through the first question, too.
Okay.
That is, I thought, and this is an issue with the National Football League, by the way, is they need to be banging. And when I say banging, I'm talking about the offensive line in practice and training camp.
Yeah.
They got to go live. If not, you are now stunning the running game because they have to get into a flow and a rhythm of hitting. So I think and this is why I think they're getting a lot of injuries in the league, not just offensive linemen, by the way. So you need to, if you're going to be a banger and you're going to run the football, your best way to protect a quarterback is running the football and playing great defense. I thought this was a misstep by Brian Callahan. Right off the bat, we threw the ball more than we ran the ball. So how you protect the quarterback, as I just said, is how you run the football.
Against Denver Broncos and L.A. Rams, two of the best defensive lines in the league.
So to me, right off the bat, now you've hit a nerve for me because now you're not understanding what the NFL is all about.
Right.
That's how you protect a young rookie quarterback. You wanted to say, I'm going to put it all on the quarterback, and he's going to throw it across the yard. And we're going to have success, and we're going to win that way. Nobody's done that. Let's go down the Hall of Fame list. Peyton Manning, Elway, we can just keep going. None of them did that. So that means you don't even understand how to win in this league initially with a young quarterback. So that then irritated me from the jump. Right there. And so to me, you had to get your running game up to speed. That should have been worked on all day long. We can go over all these passing games all you want to. And that is just not going to matter. So there, I had to get that out.
Well, let me just say something. Jaden Daniels, rookie year, fifth in rushing attempts.
It just makes no sense. Like, do you know this league? You've been in it for 5 years. What do you, as a OC, wasn't calling plays, but yeah. So, well, man, that was kind of baffling for me.
It was.
It really was.
Mind you, too, most of our pass plays were in, obvious pass situations.
Well, yeah, because they would get sacked in the first.
Which makes it worse, right? Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was terrible strategy.
Wow, man.
Because you're talking about, look at Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, his rookie year. They were fifth in rush attempts. We talked about Jackson Dart this year up in New York Giants. He was fifth in rush attempts.
Wow.
I mean, Drake May, I know that his rush attempts, or not his personally, but the New England Patriots. So in 2024, they were 20th in rush attempts. In 2025, when Drake May took that huge leap, 6th in rush attempts. So even in your second year, to your point, young quarterbacks need a rushing attack to be successful.
And that's how you slow down the pass rush. And
exactly.
Always in passage. Oh, my gosh. It was unbelievable.
And it was the reverse here. No matter, it was just so weird.
Cam Board, who did pretty good, to be honest, to a certain extent. You're like, okay.
Well, we talked about, Houston Texans pass rush. Even the Indianapolis Colts pass rush was on fire at the beginning of the year. The Denver Broncos, the L.A. Rams, and they were on, some of those games were on the road. And we're passing to set up the run. And that's just not how you do it in the NFL.
Not with a young quarterback.
Not with a young quarterback. And not with a young quarterback when you have the pieces that you had last year with an offensive line that was a little banged up to begin with, that was having time to gel. It just made no sense. And to your point, and back to Mark's point about protection, and if you thought that was bad last year, the offensive line right now is worse than last year. And I thought,
don't put that out there in the universe.
Well, last year I thought on paper that
I'm about to leave.
Maybe the coach is better. Maybe the coach is better, and maybe he can get more out of these guys than what Bill Callahan got out of the guys they had last year.
Well, his history says he does.
But we need protection. And that I do think that and part of this goes back to play calling. I think play calling and protection are the first two things that can really help your young quarterback develop and hit the ground running quickly. And I think we saw that with the Commanders. I think we saw that with the shift in philosophy and play calling with the Patriots from last year in 2024, Drake May's rookie season of this year. We saw it with Caleb Williams and the play calling difference there as well. That can change. So Brian Dable has a huge effect on Cam Ward. All right, we're going to pick it back up. Mark's other question when we come back from the break. We'll also get to Brandon in Lebanon as well. 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Well, spring break is almost here officially, I guess, but for some of us, we need to get our spring bods all intact. An approach to weight loss at Edge Peptide Hormone Therapy is a little bit different. We make sure all patients have extensive lab work and face-to-face conversations in office with our nurse practitioner to create a customized treatment plan tailored to your specific needs. They use only U.S.-based FDA-audited compounding pharmacies because knowing where your peptides come from always matters. So you better check, especially if you're online. So do not do that, of course. And Edge walks you through this process with guiding your treatment plan, answering your questions, and supporting you along the way. Also get to enjoy access to their in-body scanner to track weight loss to make sure you're maintaining that muscle mass that you have accumulated. And Edge always uses the lowest effective doses to make sure that you are resetting your metabolic flexibility and not starving yourself like most people think you need to do. Also get to lower your A1C, keeping your cravings in check, and prioritizing protein and having someone guide your journey from start to finish. So call the team at Edge Peptide for all your wellness questions at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878. Or you can go online and check them out at edgepeptide.com. That's edgepeptide.com.
Cover 2. Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Store, and broadcasting live from the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports Kentucky Downs. We'll go back to Mark's question, but I want to get to Brandon because Brandon's been waiting, so we may get to Mark's question in the next hour.
The second half of his question.
But let's go to Brandon. Brandon, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up?
You got it.
Hey, so I've got kind of like a two-parter question. So the one part that I want to ask is, what is the difference from the pro days and the combine different? Because normally if you look at a player, you want to look at what they can do on tape, not necessarily what their intangibles are after the tape. Mm-hmm. So with that part of me saying that, I think with the draft coming up, I think it should be between Love and Sonny, one or the other, because one, I think if we choose Love, like it's going to progress Ward, but if we go Sonny, it's going to bolster our defense, and they say defenses win championships, but also, if they don't choose Love, I think it's going to make Ward's progression digress. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that or not, because if I look at film on somebody, I'm going to see what their body of work is, not what they can do at the combine, not necessarily what they can do on their pro day, because they can do that by themselves without the competition. But with the competition, their athleticism is what really sticks out, and I think that's where they need to really start hammering down. Like, we need the athleticism of what we see on tape, not what we see from the combine or the pro days.
Hey, Brandon,
I'll hang up and let you guys
don't hang up. Don't hang up yet. So I just want to make sure I'm trying to understand your first question. Are you saying that how much do teams actually weigh what happens at the pro day and the combine versus film? Is that what you're trying to get at? Okay,
yeah,
just making
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Brandon. I think what can happen at pro days and combines, maybe behind the scenes in interviews and what you find out, probably means more than athleticism a little bit. Like what you find out through medicals or what you find out actually talking to the player when you put them up on the whiteboard. But I do think that the majority of these teams probably lean film over everything. I would say like film is probably like 85% of the evaluation. Maybe even that may be undershooting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the percentages are. I think people get enamored when you see somebody do something really just spectacular. So whether that's a running a fast 40 or a great vertical or whatever it is. And so you kind of throw everything out the window and say, hey, man, that guy in front of competition did this, and I like the guy. So what you're supposed to do, which a lot of them do, is go back and verify that the film matches up with the actual athleticism. And if you don't verify it then by the film, then that's who he really is, not on a one-day, one occurrence or a fast 40. A guy can run a fast 40 at the combine electric, and then you go see him on the field, and the other guy runs a 4.5, and he ran a 4.3, and on film, the guy's just locking him down and say corner versus receiver, then he's not a 4.3 player. Some guys run different with equipment on than guys that do not. And some guys run the same speed.
Yep.
See, that's where it really is different. That's why people laugh at me. I said they should run with equipment on.
I when you said that the first time, I was like, let's do
it. Because it'll seem weird.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, have me go chase somebody than have me just go run a 40. It's totally different. I'm going to catch that rabbit.
I was about to say, kind of like a dog race or something where they have the rabbit.
Yeah, it's totally different kind of mechanism, and some guys just kind of relax in that moment.
Yeah.
And it looks, and they're much faster. So you got to take it for what it's worth. And for everybody to see all the guys there at one time in different groups to see how they actually look and perform under that kind of pressure too.
Yeah,
that's another part of it.
And we're not saying that like you have your helmet and your pads on and then you're getting down in the 40 stance. You're going to have to redo how you start and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, to your point, that would give you a lot more clearer information.
Yeah.
Than just the underwear Olympics. It would definitely look weird, but I think it would be a lot. Hey, I think it'd be pretty fun.
You got to verify it though. And so I'm always a film guy. more so heavily. I don't know. So I think there are occasions where you go outside of that, and they've shown that every year different teams have. They go outside of it. So
sometimes more often than not, that does not work.
Yeah,
though.
but it's hard, man.
Yeah.
You see a guy run a 4.3, and you just, I mean, even with myself, I go, golly, man, that guy is fast. I mean, you even love running a 4.33 or whatever,
which is insane.
You know,
it wasn't even out of breath either.
Oh my God, I was like, man, God, this guy is big, man. Let's go away. I said, oh man, I saw him get caught one time, and he was just getting started. You know, it was like when he opened up. You know, so I was like, well, that really doesn't count. Like he never really got, walked down. So then you see it. Even the Washington kid we were talking about yesterday, junior for Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'm going back and it's like, dang, he ran a 4.33 at the combine. I'm like, man, I didn't see 4.33.
Right.
Like, that's blazing.
You saw speed,
right?
But you didn't see like that, Scott.
Yeah, like most guys, 4.4. 4.3 is a big jump from 4.4.
Yeah.
I mean, you know it. Like, I'm out there on the field. Randy Moss running 4.3. It was a bit different than the other guys running 4.4, especially with his athleticism and his length. So it matters, but man, that 4.3 is you're blazing.
Well, we talked about with Elic Ayomanor and Chimere DK too. I mean, like Elic Ayomanor wearing a 4.44, and you're like, well, where is that on his tape, and where is that on the? Right. Where did you see it on the field last year? Now, it doesn't mean that he's not NFL fast,
right?
But he ain't fast like a 4.4 guy.
Yeah,
like
he not like Ridley,
right, exactly. And Ridley, I think, ran a worse 40 time than he did. So there's your point.
Yeah,
like when the pads came on, Elic got slower. When the pads came on, Calvin Ridley stayed the same.
Yeah,
maybe he even got a little faster.
Right.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to Brandon, both now Mark and Brandon's second half of their questions. We'll get to that when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
What were they?
Hey, it's Zach Lyons, and you guys hear me nerd out about sports data every day. Well, now I'm going to nerd out for a second about my eyes. The procedure I had done with Dr. Horn at Vision for Life is called Contura LASIK. It's the most advanced form of LASIK available. It maps over 22,000 elevation points on your cornea to create a completely customized treatment plan. It's not one size fits all. It's built specifically for your eyes. Dr. Horn was the first surgeon in Middle Tennessee to offer it, and after my consultation, we agreed it was the best option for me. And the results, I'm seeing better than 20/20. It's honestly incredible. But what worked for me may be different for you. Whether you're 18 or 80, Dr. Horn has a vision correction procedure that's right for your eyes and your lifestyle. If you're tired of blurry vision or the hassle of glasses and contacts, schedule a consultation and find out what's best for you. Call 615-436-2020 or visit visionforlife.com.
Good afternoon, live from the Circus Sports of the Mint-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Ross Johnston. We had a blockbuster trade this morning in the NFL as the Miami Dolphins sent star receiver Jalen Waddle and their fourth-round pick to the Denver Broncos in return for the 30th pick plus a third and fourth-round pick in this year's draft. Waddle has been in Miami since his rookie year in 2021, and the Dolphins will now have 11 total picks in this year's draft. Waddle totaled 5,000 yards and 28 touchdowns in his time with Miami. The Philadelphia Eagles also made a move, signing former Chiefs receiver Hollywood Brown to a one-year deal worth up to $6.5 million. Brown had 49 receptions for 587 yards and 5 touchdowns with the Chiefs last year. All of this reported by Jordan Schultz. And in AFC South news, the Houston Texans have signed former Browns guard and multiple-time Pro Bowler Wyatt Teller, as reported by Mike Garafolo. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans of Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2, Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And we're going to go back. We're going to go back to Mark's first part of his question, where he's talking about protection.
Do you remember? Oh, there
I did. I wrote it down. I wrote it down over here. I got my questions.
Hey, man. What,
and we'll also have Stony Keley coming up next.
You write it down?
Okay, so I wanted to write it down. The first question was about protection.
Remind me what you said.
Okay, so the first question was about protection and about Will Levis, how nobody can succeed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm a big hand talker. My wife hates it.
No, I think you've been around Nick Saban too much.
Maybe. The New York Giants last year were the third best team in terms of PFF's pass blocking efficiency metric. This is not their grading system. The PFF pass blocking efficiency rating measures pressure allowed on a per snap basis with weighted towards sacks allowed. Mm-hmm. Now, what this means is if a tight end or a running back or a wide receiver or the quarterback was responsible for the sack, or if it was a coverage sack, it's not included. Mm-hmm. It's what is directly responsible to the offensive line. He had the third best pass blocking efficiency, the New York Giants. The reason I want to bring that up is because Carmen Bursillo, and I know there's listen, I have the same concerns everybody else does about Austin Slopeman and Cordell Volson and all this stuff. They don't scream improvement. But Carmen Bursillo last year accomplished that with first-round draft pick Andrew Thomas at left tackle, sixth-round draft pick at left guard John Runyon Jr., second round,
which is he started Green Bay.
Yeah, he did start Green Bay.
Okay.
Second round draft pick center John Michael Schmitz, undrafted free agent right guard who is still available out there for the Tennessee Titans to sign, Greg Van Roten, an undrafted free agent, in fifth round guy, right tackle Jermaine Ayomanor, who crossed paths with Bursillo over at Las Vegas before he came to New York. So that is one first-round pick, a sixth-round pick, a second-round pick, an undrafted free agent, and a fifth-round pick. And he third best offensive line. I know from researching Bill Callahan's coaching tree, or not coaching tree, but players that he's coached, his best offensive lines always had way higher pedigree of drafted players than this. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to say, while you can't just, I don't want it to be like, oh, it's going to be fine, because I'm not going to err on that side. They're going to have to prove that it's going to be fine. That Carmen Bursillo has done more with less than the prior coaches that have been here for the Tennessee Titans whatsoever. So I just want to throw that out there, because we were talking about protection with Mark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a proven fact. These are the things that I brought up with, Bill Callahan before. When everybody was anointing him the best offensive line coach. So, I've seen offensive line coaches. Mike Munchak was a really good offensive line coach.
And he's done a lot more with less.
Yes, always. Yeah. And when I see him, what he did with Ruse was really impressive as well. He was a second-round pick. He wasn't taunted. He had short arms and all that. And, man, I tell you one thing, I don't remember him ever having a really bad game. So, yeah, sure it happened. But, so, yeah, some coaches are better. We're working with less, some not so much. So you kind of want to know that. And I think in this draft, though, they can get, third round through fifth round. Maybe you can potentially get a starter from guard to center. Maybe there. Maybe that's the approach they're going to take, and then make them compete with some veteran guys here and see how much, they get pushed by them or make them better as well. So, and maybe they go skill guys up top, high in the draft. Never know.
Never know.
You said that this was a good draft for middling round, third, fourth, fifth round for some starters in this year's draft. And I think Stony Keley said the same thing.
Well, I also think that's the NIL effect. I think a lot of people think the NIL is drying up the second round, but eventually what's going to happen, because I know Jim Nagy said that at a Senior Bowl press conference last year, but that there were concerns about NIL drying up your day three with talent. Not the talent at day three is not going to be as good, but eventually all those guys are going to be hitting the draft. So eventually your day three is going to start looking like, okay, these guys are 4-year starters at college. They have a lot of talent. They kind of know you. We know what they are because we have the film. We have a lot of film. We can work with this. I think the day three is going to be even better as NIL gets further into its infancy or whatever.
As well as high-level free agents.
I would agree. I think your undrafted free agents are going to start getting better and better. Okay, real quick, Mark's second question was about failed head coaches in a second stint, and are we concerned and all that? I do have a little bit of level of concern. Only 18% have gone on to have winning records of the last 20 years. But and maybe this is two-tone blue glasses talking, so I'm just going to, well, I guess I can't say two-tone blue. What's it now? Titans blue glass. I guess this is my Titans blue glasses on. But I do think that the way that they have approached this offseason and built this staff overall, because usually those guys bring in a lot of the same staff with them. And this is an entirely different offensive staff for the most part than Robert Saleh had in New York Jets. It's a better quarterback than what Robert Saleh had at the New York Jets. And I think that he's even done a little bit differently with his defense in terms of some of the same people, but he also has Gus Bradley instead of Jeff Ulbrich. And I do think when I look at this team, I think the defense wasn't the issue at the Jets. So you can have the same staff there, and I'm not going to be concerned because the way they've approached free agency is going to be a quicker turnaround on the defensive side of the football than what he had his first year with the Jets. So I'm not as concerned, but I do recognize that, hey, history has told us 18% chance that this is going to work out.
Who were the 18%?
It was Mike Mularkey. I'm going off the top of my head. Okay. Mike Mularkey, Todd Bowles, and Jack Del Rio. So, to be honest,
those two offensive guys and one.
Yeah.
I mean, two defensive guys.
Yeah, two defensive guys and one offensive guy. So, I mean, that's
and
pretty good.
One was here, right?
Yeah, one was here.
Yeah.
So, just saying, not bad. They, of course, didn't include like the old guys like Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick. So, I try to cut it off at a certain time because the older you go, the less reliable it is to today's NFL.
Those are great.
I'm sure it'd be too hard to look up right now, but I wonder how many of those guys have had two former head coaches as their coordinators in their second stint.
I would say probably
right away.
Almost zero.
Yeah.
That makes I remember better. Jack Del Rio had Todd Downing at one point, passed over Mike Tice, who was his offensive line coach, and they kind of bullied Todd Downing and all this kind of stuff. There's all kinds of drama with the Raiders at that point in time. Still is a little bit of drama with the Raiders now with Alex Guerrero running things over there. So there you go. All right. And then the other question from Brandon was about, Jeremiah Love and Sonny Styles. We talked about his pro day combine question, but he was kind of saying the same stuff that we've already said. Jeremiah Love is obviously on the offense side of the ball, more direct help for Cam Ward, whereas Sonny Styles is defense, but defense wins championships. So it's kind of like you're weighing two different things, but also, are the Titans really in championship mode right now? But I really don't think you can go too wrong with either of those picks. You're getting a blue chip prospect with either of those picks. But again, we always kind of we always find ourselves back to, well, who's touching the ball the most in the game and who's got a direct relationship with Cam Ward? It would be Jeremiah Love.
Mm-hmm. How many blue chippers do the Titans have?
How many blue chippers do they have?
Mm-hmm.
I would say one, because I'm not ready to put Cam Ward was not a blue chip prospect. Big Jeff was considered.
Big Jeff?
And that.
Who's your one? Who are you going with?
Big Jeff.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Peter Skoronski technically was considered a blue chip as a prospect, but I don't know if you really, as far as great players, you could say both those guys are great. I think Peter Skoronski's great. I think Jeffrey Simmons obviously needs to be in a category by himself for Peter Skoronski, but that's about where the list probably ends. I mean, it's a Big Jeff. I mean, is easily blue chip and that kind of talent. And you need as many of those guys on a roster as feasibly possible. Not every guy, you're not going to be in a position to draft a guy like that every time, hopefully.
So if you go Styles, my guy, now you got two on defense.
Two on defense.
And none on offense.
And yeah. But if you go Jeremiah Love, you got one on each.
One on each side of the ball.
Yeah.
What if that helps them make their decision?
I don't know. It very well could.
Because we could all say defense wins championships, as we just saw with the Seahawks, right?
Yeah. Their run game helped pretty well, too.
The offense sells tickets.
Yep. They need some.
And who you coming to watch?
And they would love to have some more money and people in the stands. All right.
I see you.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we'll be joined by Stony Keley, a football owner of the F-Words, to talk about the draft and the Tennessee Titans free agents and their roster. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. It's March and time for some bracket madness. Join 104.5 The Zone 3HL later today at Circus Sports Kentucky as we broadcast live ahead of the first games from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Circus Sports Kentucky is designed by players for players, inspired by years spent on both sides of the sportsbook counter. The Circus Sports Kentucky app brings our own wish list to life, located in the heart of downtown Franklin at the Mitt at Kentucky Downs. Their sportsbook blends modern technology with traditional retail service with over 1,700 square feet of high-definition displays, ensuring both quick self-service and hands-on assistance. Learn more, circusports.com. And we're going to go to the phones. Let's go to Stony Keley of Football and Other F-Words and StackingTheInbox.com. And Stony, let's start with this. Out of all the film that you have watched so far, who has the most frustrating and worst offense that you have watched? What team has that kind of offense?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, gentlemen, happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope y'all are wearing green or else Ross is going to start pinching some people. But that offense, undoubtedly, every time I watch it, is that Penn State offense under James Franklin last year. Some of the stuff, the formations they do, they try to get really cute. They do a lot of like RPO stuff. Their wide receivers are basically there just to say they're wide receivers. They run a lot of like half-field concepts where they're just trying to get blockers downfield to run the ball. It is the most boring and frustrating offense to try and evaluate a quarterback in, because they got one in this class in Drew Aller.
What's been the, I guess, biggest surprise through your tape study so far as you're preparing the Stack in the Inbox draft guide? Like, what's been the biggest surprise prospect that you were kind of a little bit low on or really didn't hear of, but it was really kind of shown up these last few weeks?
Oh, it's easily Dylan Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon. Not a name that I heard a lot throughout the fall, but then kind of started picking up some steam late in the season, and then he goes to the combine and shows what an elite athlete he is. So I made his tape a priority, even though I don't think the Titans are going to be in the market for a safety of his ilk, because it's probably going to take a first-round pick to get him at this point. But I just remember being so blown away by the speed and the fluidity. Some of the stuff, the plays that he's running down, it's like he's running plays down across the field from the nosebleeds, and he's still getting there and getting his face in there and making the tackle. So I was kind of surprised that he kind of felt like one of the draft's best-kept secrets up until about a few weeks ago with the Combine.
Okay, so we were just talking about, blue chip prospects. When you're going through your tape study and your prospect evaluations, what kind of thresholds does a player have to meet for you to consider them a blue chip prospect? Like, how do you personally define blue chip prospect?
Yeah, so it's largely an eye test thing, and I'm watching to see, how many times they slip up, they're out of position, they fail to make a play when they could, like how many plays are they making, just kind of getting that feel for who the player is on the field. And then when they go to the combine, are they checking those physical and athletic boxes as well? And basically what I'm looking at is I'm still old school. I've got pen and paper. I'm writing down notes, watching tape. When I review those tapes, if I've got, let's say 30 notes on a guy and maybe one of them is negative or a critique, that's a pretty good idea that this guy doesn't have a whole lot of weaknesses to his game. So, I think whereas some people might look at it like, what do you do for your offense or your defense? How are you making plays? What is the production? I kind of look at it from the other side of that and say, okay, how often are you showing weakness on tape? And if that's not very much, man, I tell you what, I get to the end of my notes, and let's use Jeremiah Love, for example. I'm reading back through my critiques of him, and I'm thinking this kind of sounds silly compared to all of the other things that he does so well. That's a blue chip prospect to me. It's a guy that I don't have a lot of questions about at all.
Who are your blue chip prospects in this draft class?
So I've got three for certain. I've got Jeremiah Love, I've got Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State, and I've got Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State. Those are my three for sure guys. I've got notes scribbled down all over my desk. I'm like one game shy of my threshold on Vinga Ioane, the left guard out of Penn State. I think there are some questions about the athleticism, but he's the only other player that I've watched but haven't finished just yet that I might even entertain that conversation with. But it's likely going to be those three guys, Love, Downs, and Styles. I have a hard time finding a weakness in any of their game.
We're talking NFL draft in Tennessee Titans with Stony Keley of Football and Other Efforts.
Well, Stony, man, this is going to be kind of an interesting question, and that is best player on the board, best wide receiver on the board, or best pass rusher on the board. Who you taking?
Yeah, so run that first one by me again. Was it
best player, best wide receiver, best pass rusher?
I think I'm going best player because whether it's Styles or Love, personally, I'm not going to flip a table over if they went with Caleb Downs, but I definitely understand that is far from a need right now. Chances are I'm thinking the best player available is going to come down to Styles or Love, and I really like both of those guys. I think both of those guys would bolster this roster. I look at the edge group, I look at the wide receiver group, and I have some questions about those guys. I like Arvell Reese, I like David Bailey, and I like Reuben Bain, but I think each of those guys has a question about them. And with the wide receivers, you look at Jordan Tyson and the injury history. I don't know about that. Carnell Tate is probably the guy I'm closest to for wide receiver one, but I just go back to that 2017 draft and taking him at 4th overall when you do have an opportunity to potentially get one of these blue chip guys. It feels like taking a wide receiver because they really need a wide receiver and not necessarily because he's that caliber of player. I think there's really good value to be had in the middle of this draft at wide receiver. I think there's really good value to be had at the middle of the draft in the edge group as well. But when you're looking at the linebacker, Sonny Styles and Jeremiah Love, the running back, I know they're not premium positions, but these are elite level athletes that are going to make an impact from the moment they step on the field in the NFL.
You're Mike Berganzi. Styles is gone. Love is gone. Who you taking it for?
Oh, that's a tough one, Blaine. You're grilling me today. You know, I think I probably land on Arvell Reese if he's still available. I like the athleticism. I like the pass rush potential. I like the idea that you can move him around and play him in different spots, and he is this sort of hybrid defender. That's probably where I would lean if those are my options.
Well, leaning, we're on with Stony Keley, our draft expert, and I would say we first and foremost, we should have asked you this first. Ooh. That is, what do you think of the new logo by the Titans?
Oh, I like it. It's slick. I have not had any controversial opinions about the reveal party or anything like that. I have always said the uniforms are fantastic. They look great. Now, as a matter of fact, my wife has been bugging me for a week to go find one of these pop-up shops and buy some new gear. So, hey, listen, I'm all for it. I think the color scheme is elite.
All right.
Well, I will say this, you missed your pop-up shop opportunities, I believe. I think they're all done, so that was last weekend.
Well, I can't wait to tell my wife that when she gets home tonight. I'm sure that'll go over well. I won't be sleeping on the couch tonight or anything.
Right. Speaking of pop-up shops, you just made me think, what is Stony Keley's scouting report of Stony Keley?
Ooh, you know what? Balding, a little too much gray in his beard, drinks a little too much, a little too pot-bellied, knees crack when he gets out of bed in the morning. Probably not an elite level athlete at this point in his career.
He did think about going to try out recently for an arena football league that's looking for a center. Do you think Stoney could do it?
Oh, my. Yeah, well, you don't have to move that much.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I never got my fair shake in football. This is my chance right now. Get into the Arena League and get some good tape out there.
Oh, man, there's a lot of people saying that they never got their fair shake. One more question. This is kind of a curveball. I just saw this on social media, so don't feel bad if you don't, know who this guy is. His name is Carson Tote, T-O-W-T. I may be pronouncing it wrong. He is a tight end. Is this true or not?
Is this the Adam Schefter tweet?
Yes.
I was going to ask him this question too.
He's a basketball player for Notre Dame, but they're scouting for, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. You know anything about him?
It just happened.
No, that's what I said.
I don't know anything about this player, but now I'm excited. How do I translate the basketball tape for a football scouting report? I don't know, but I'm sure Zach will be thrilled to hear that I'll do my research on him, and maybe we can fit him into the draft guide somewhere. I don't know.
Yep. Adam Schefter just reported about 36 minutes ago. Colts signed Notre Dame basketball forward Carson Tout with the idea of converting him to tight end. So I expect you to start watching Notre Dame basketball tape.
Well, here's a little help for you. Who's the tight end that just got into the Hall of Fame? Gates, basketball player in college, not a football player. Played in the MAC. So kind of go back and see how he moves compared to this guy. Maybe you can kind of start getting some, comps or something. I don't know. But typically basketball players, I'm sure he probably was an All-American in high school or something like that, I would assume. So I'd go back and see what he did in high school. Just a guess. I have no idea. For them to, go out on a limb like that, he's got to have some form of football background somewhere.
I will say that when I'm reading about a player and I see that plays basketball popped up in their history, my ears perk up a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, we got a guy that can move here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. On Stony Keley.
Stony, okay, trade back scenarios for you. How do you feel about trade back scenarios? I mean, are you a stick and pick guy, or do you think this draft there is a chance that you could trade back and maybe gain the same kind of value as you would with the one guy?
Yeah, so I think this is a really good draft to have a pick somewhere between 30 and 70. That's where the real heart of this draft is. It is littered with guys. I've jokingly said this is a draft full of third-rounders, but that's kind of what it feels like. There's some really good players that you're going to be able to get on day 2 and early on day 3 before the level of talent and production really falls off a cliff. So as tempting as it would be for me to say, oh, there's a guy like Jeremiah Love, and you're just picturing the fireworks show that he could bring to Nashville in this offense, knowing where the value is at in this draft and knowing how many holes they still have to fill, because we have, I get it. It's an optimistic time, new coach, new players, everybody's starting to build the hype for next season. But this roster is still quite a ways away from being what I would call competitive. And if you can get multiple guys in that sweet spot of the draft where you're getting guys that are going to be reliable contributors, some of them with higher upside, I think that value is probably too great to pass up for the position that the Titans are in right now, where they need dudes right now. So I think, like I said, as tempting as it would be to take a Love or a Styles, if the offer presents itself and there is good value with multiple picks, I think I would absolutely consider trading down for sure.
Well, when you do a trade down, obviously running back's not going to be really on the table, but an interesting way to look at it is that you have, edge rushing needs, wide receiver needs. I mean, what kind of ideal scenario would it be if you're looking at it? If you don't have to give up your second round pick to get to the 2 first, but you got 2 firsts and your second round pick, how are you, the Stony Keley, the GM of the Tennessee Titans, using those picks to attack your roster?
Yeah, so I think wide receiver, cornerback, edge are all needs. I think those are all areas where this draft is rich. But, something you didn't bring up there, Zach, is that an extra pick would come in handy because now you seem to have a hole at center and you might have a hole at right guard as well. So you might need some interior offensive line help. And that's another area where I feel like this draft is really strong with guards, between guys that actually played guard in college and guys that played tackle in college that will kick inside to guard. There's a healthy crop of guys there, and there are some really intriguing center prospects in this class as well. But if you want a guy that's capable of starting early in his career, because you have missed out on a guy in the first wave of free agency, and maybe that market is starting to dry up a little bit, an extra pick in that second to third round range would really come in handy to procure your starting center, your guard, maybe even get one of those guys to develop for the future. But I think that's a need now that we've got to add to the bucket of edge rusher, cornerback, and wide receiver. It's that interior offensive line.
So when it comes to the Titans free agency, I mean, have you been able to find the time to watch any tape of Austin Slopeman or Cordell Volseman? Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so have you been able to find time to watch tape on those two guys and what maybe the Tennessee Titans saw in those guys?
No, not yet. Honestly, I probably won't get to the free agent signings until May. It is all draft, all hours of the day right now in this household. So I haven't gotten around to it yet. Just kind of picking up little notes from you guys talking about them. And I know Ramon's been talking about them on the morning show a little bit too. So just kind of trying to get my bearings on who those guys are.
Under the radar, but I don't think he's under the radar anymore after that fast 40 time, and that is, I think, Mike Washington Jr. from Arkansas. What did you see? Kind of give us your scouting report. Is he running back 2, and where is he projected to go in this draft? What round?
Yeah, so I think he's a top 100 caliber guy. I won't be surprised because running back is one of those areas in the draft where the level of talent kind of falls off a cliff after the first handful of guys. And so I'm thinking it's Jeremiah Love, obviously. Love's backup, reliever, may be the more accurate term, Jadarian Price. I think those are the three guys you're looking at. And I wouldn't be surprised if all three of those guys go in the top 100, or maybe one of them falls out of it between Price or Washington, because I heard you say earlier, Blaine, you watch Mike Washington Jr.'s tape, and I don't think you really see that speed on tape. There's something kind of wonky about his consistency, where sometimes you're able to see him like turn a corner, and if he gets a lane, man, it's like he got rockets strapped to his back. But then there are other times where you're kind of wondering, you're watching him and you're thinking, okay, it's time to like plant that foot, get upfield, like make a play here. There's some space that I don't think he necessarily capitalizes on the best. And, you know, I know it probably wasn't the best situation with that Arkansas offense in 2025, but I think if you're banking on Mike Washington Jr., you're banking on the potential from that speed and athleticism more so than it being proven on tape, if that makes sense.
If you're Mike Bergonzi, I mean, obviously you have gone through the process of free agency, leaning heavily onto the experience that these coaches have had with the players they've coached in the past. If you're Mike Bergonzi, how far does that extend into the draft process for these prospects? Because these aren't guys that have really been drilling in on the tape, so to speak, as much as your scouts, your front office, the whole department that you've built to evaluate the draft. So how much does that continue to weigh in if you're Mike Bergonzi, the general manager?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, Zach, because if you listen to scouts and personnel people, you know, a lot of these guys, everybody's got a podcast these days. They're talking about their careers, and a lot of these guys, what you hear is, most of our big misses were character things, because you only have so much time throughout the draft process to really get to know these players as people and understand where the cultural fits are and who's actually going to be the person they say they are when they get in the building with you. And that's how a lot of teams end up busting, is because they miss on those issues. So Mike Bergonzi's case, it kind of feels like the way they approach free agency, getting guys that are familiar with these coaches and their expectations and the way they want things run, the benefit of that is that, well, maybe this thing can gel a little quicker, and maybe we can turn this thing around a little bit quicker if everybody's on the same page. So I would say if that is indeed the philosophy here, I would think that he would continue to lean pretty heavily on the coaching staff to get in the room and try to figure out who these guys are and who they think is going to benefit that quick gelling of information so that they can turn the Tennessee Titans around. I think it is something that's going to be important for Mike Bergonzi this cycle.
All right. That's Stony Keley, football and other efforts. You can also read his analysis over at stackingtheinbox.com. Stoney, enjoy your St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Tony. All right. When we come back, let's talk about Jauan Jennings a little bit because I keep seeing him linked to Tennessee Titans by not only national media, but local media alike. Let's talk about that. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Legendary coach Lou Holtz once said, before people spend money, they ask 3 questions. Can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me? Hey, friends, it's Blaine Bishop for Eurofix. And Eurofix has built its business on answering those 3 questions with a bold yes. So back in 1999, founder Aaron Stokes was by himself in a one-car garage in downtown Franklin. And a few months later, he moved his shop into a barn behind his house so he could stay close to his family while building his dream of offering the best service on European vehicles at below dealer pricing. So fast forward to today, that barn is long gone and Eurofix is thriving with 5 locations: Nashville, Franklin, Belmead, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, with more to come. And all work performed comes with a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty, plus a rental car is available with every appointment. So go ahead and ask yourself, can you trust us? Do we care? And are we committed to excellence? And I think you'll say with a bold yes, Eurofix treats everyone with class. So call them today at 615, of course, 724-1878, or you can check them out online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. And join us tomorrow as we'll broadcast live from the ML Rose in Franklin, Tennessee. The Rachel will also be there 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Enjoy Miller Mayhem Bucket Deals. 5 Miller High Life ponies for $15. 5 Miller Light bottles for $20. That's 5 for the price of 4. And $6 Shoot Your Shot. Green tea shot, Hoodoo Espresso Martini shot, Nelson's Green Brier Tennessee Whiskey shot as well. All right.
Don't get any ideas there, Blaine.
Get you some green tea shots tomorrow, Blaine.
Oh, my.
You know what?
I'm out my way, so I can make it
This would be
out.
the world's most dangerous drinking game would be every time we pronounce a name incorrectly, someone has to take a shot.
Oh, I think that's a great game.
We would both have
win.
liver.
I would win.
Yeah, you would win. You would win the shot.
I'll be blacked out back here.
Hey, man, come on, man. I pronounce almost everything right.
Bobby, okay.
So just real quick, we were just talking about it. The Indianapolis Colts just signed a current that just finished his season, or I don't know if he's still playing in the tournament, with Notre Dame, a forward who averaged last season 12.4 total rebounds per game. This season, 9 total rebounds per game and 5.9 points per game this season with Notre Dame. 6'7", he has over 1,300 total rebounds over his career. His name is Carson Tout.
Tout. Okay, was I saying it right?
6'7", 225 from Gilbert, Arizona.
Did he play any football? In high school?
I don't know. I'll have to check. We'll have to check on that.
Because, Antonio Gates was a basketball player.
That
He
is
did not play college football.
There you go. Just real quick, I've seen a few people still, like, when they make their top 5 remaining free agent fits for the Tennessee Titans. This is after Calvin Ridley took his pay cut, which we still do not have the numbers and how the contract is structured on that. But I've seen a lot of people still say that the best fit for the Tennessee Titans or their top 5 or this or that nationally and locally is Jauan Jennings. And listen, we both like Jauan Jennings, the football player. No, this is no slight against him, but I just don't know, first off, why he's still on the market. Maybe it is just because he's asking for a lot of money. And if that's the case, I don't think that is a huge need for the Tennessee Titans in free agency anymore. And really, let's attack that position in the draft. I don't see spending a lot of money to go get Jauan Jennings. So I just don't get, other than maybe clicks for University of Tennessee fans because of this fan base, I just don't see the logical path forward where that's a real reality unless the price tag comes down tremendously.
Yeah, I just saw, Hollywood just signed with the Chiefs, I think. Is that what we said?
Yep.
Yeah, I think for 6.
No, the Eagles.
Eagles, that's right, Eagles. And it was 6.5. And so I'm thinking different style of players, by the way.
Right.
One, taller, more physical, and the other one's just more about speed game. And I'm thinking maybe that's where he needs to get to for the Titans to sign him.
Yeah.
I think maybe he thought he was going to get a little more because he had a bigger role with a lot of the injuries there, and he pretty much became their number 1-ish, 2-ish guy there in San Francisco this last season. So he may have been looking from that, 14 to, 20 million range in a long-term deal. I think I would pursue him probably if he's around, the 7 million with some incentives.
Yeah.
I just think they already have players similar to what he would bring to the table. Not the same style because his physicality and his red zone touchdowns are outstanding. I think, Elic is somewhat similar in his style of play, just not as physical. So then now you're going to be taking reps away if you draft another guy. I don't know how they may go. I would say it's going to probably be top 3 rounds. Then where does he fit in at that point?
Right.
So if he's still available after the draft and seeing what they need, maybe then. But right now, as much as I love the way he plays, I just don't see the fit. And I've liked him at Tennessee. I've liked him in the pros. And he's actually done much better than I expected just from a receiver standpoint. Because most receivers in mindset doesn't have that aggressive nature that he has.
Yeah.
Like, when he's going to block guys, he's kind of somewhat similar to, like, let's say Hines Ward, not in his height and size, but the way he's playing. He's a possession type guy, red zone guy, jump ball, different, has much length. So he can bring some value, but
if you're a defender, watch him coming across the middle. Watch your back,
Yeah, watch your
front.
Yeah,
really,
even on the other side of the field, he's kind of that guy. And, I love it. So just like, do we need that now, or do we want younger guys like him?
Yeah.
See that, and so that's probably the issue, more so than anything else.
Yeah, I think there would have been a chance if they would have cut Ridley. Obviously, you don't want to cut him and then not have a plan. But at this point, they decided that they were going to go with a pay cut and a restructuring of his contract in some form or fashion. And we don't know what that means. Listen.
But he brings speed, which I would think the other guys don't. I mean, like vertical speed.
Yeah.
And Jauan Jennings is not the guy. Not to say that he can't run deep and get open, but that's not his stick. That's not his
Nobody's
game.
as fast as all the guys that we've been talking about. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, Bryce Oliver, none of those guys are as fast as Calvin Ridley.
No.
Now, Chimere Dike is, again, we can go back to the 440 comment, or he was like a 4.3 something, and that shows up in terms of long speed.
Return game.
His return game, but in the receiver game, we haven't really seen that in a consistent enough basis to say that, he could be the next Calvin Ridley. Which
maybe we will see more of that this upcoming season.
Correct.
And that's why they're buying themselves some time and having really take a pay cut and move forward. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with Jennings.
It will be. Because I'm very interested to see why it's taken so long. And maybe it is just negotiations and stuff like that. But it's I don't know if this is a market correction for the NFL, that they know what he is. There's enough tape on him to show what he is. So like Romeo Doubs, you still have that little bit of mystery of maybe maybe he can get to 1,000 yards.
Do you think the system hurts Jennings? They think it's the system and not him?
It could. I mean, listen, Kyle Shanahan is a wide receiver developer by trade. I mean, that's how he broke into the league. And he used to play wide receiver, if I'm not mistaken. So, that's how he broke into. So, maybe they do view, maybe this is a little bit of a wide receiver-friendly system, and he's the benefit of that, just as much as people want to say that about Brock Purdy and some of the quarterbacks that come through there. All right, that will do it for us. We'll be live from ML Rose tomorrow for our show. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. 3HL's up next, and in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.